MyBookie.ag presents Fantasy Fix.
Hey guys, welcome into Fantasy Fix presented by MyBookie.ag. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. I'm joined by Darren Hartwell. And Darren, week one in the books.
Yes, week one in the books. A very eventful week one. Lots to talk about.
Okay, well, I got the loss in my fantasy football league, but hey, we're moving on. We're on to week two.
How'd you do? Lost too.
Yes, they did. A lot of fans, they know that one to be true. Now, let's talk about what we learned in week one. Obviously, there's a lot to go off of here moving forward. First, for me, the rookies really stood out, and we weren't sure how they were going to do. A lot of people were saying, don't draft any rookies in the first round, but the people that did, well, it paid off for them.
Smart people, yeah. We'll get more into that, but just one stat: 10 rushing or receiving touchdowns by rookies in week one.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty crazy. And I guess for me, the one big thing that on the flip side of that is a lot of the top picks not really performing too well.
Yes.
Guys like Le'Veon Bell and Julio Jones. No need to panic with some of those guys, but it just goes to show you how volatile fantasy life can be.
It sure is. And of course, one of the sad things is always when you have one of those guys on the bench and they do very well, and you're kicking yourself for not putting them in. Personally, I had Stephon Diggs. He had 2 touchdowns. So if I had put him in, I would have won.
Well,
but hey, we learned.
I benched Kareem Hunt.
Oh, no, you didn't.
It was an 8-team league in my defense, a little bit of a smaller league, but benched Kareem Hunt and Mike Gillislee.
Okay,
so,
yikes, that's going to hurt.
Fantasy expert over here.
Yep, there he is. Well, he's one of the rookies that we talked about that really surprised us. Let's first start with the injuries, though. David Johnson, Cardinals running back. He should miss 2 to 3 months, they're saying. He's getting surgery on that wrist. For many, he was the top pick in this draft, so that one really hurts. Yeah,
it does, and especially considering what the Cardinals have as their backups, that there isn't really a major handcuff for Johnson. You're looking at a guy like Kerwin Williams. He's kind of the guy everyone's talking about to fill in, but they have a running back by committee a little bit there, Andre Ellington, and then they have a rookie too. I don't see any of them really coming to the forefront. I think they all have to kind of chip in to replace such a large workload. So I think you're going to have to look elsewhere. I think they're still trying to figure out what they do. They actually just signed Patriots practice squad guy DJ Foster reportedly. So I think they're still trying to figure it out. So that's going to be a tricky one to replace. And
I believe Doug Hyde and Zach Cox, they were pretty high on Foster throughout.
Yeah, and he's
not trying to put words in their mouth, but I remember hearing a lot about him from them.
He can catch some passes too, so he's kind of he ain't David Johnson, but he might be able to do something.
Not many people are, so that's a very tough loss. Another one, Allen Robinson, a torn ACL. Now you hate to see these ACL injuries because they are tough to recover from. So you're thinking next season, if anything. I mean, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, another tough break for the Jaguars offense. Obviously, again with that. Blake Bortles is the quarterback. I'm not really looking for another Jaguars receiver to replace Allen Robinson. I'm kind of going elsewhere. We'll get into the rookies. There are some good waiver wire targets out there, but no guys in the Jags.
Okay, good news at least on the injury front. Odell Beckham Jr., he was out in week 1, but it looks like he's going to start in week 2, so we don't have to worry about him. He was another top pick for a lot of people, so I'm sure they saw him not playing and a little frustration again, but hey, that's fantasy football for you.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be huge for the Giants going to real-life football. Their offense looks terrible without Odell Beckham, and I think Eli Manning would love to have him back. It just shows you how valuable he is to that offense. And then obviously from a fantasy perspective, I think he was pretty close to playing in week 1. So I think another week of rest, I think he'll be fine.
Okay, we can be patient enough to wait until week 2, I hope.
We'll be fine.
We talked about those rookies a lot. Let's get into it. The rookie running backs. Now, Kareem Hunt, this is a guy that Patriots fans know very well at this point. Despite fumbling on his first career carry, this guy rebounded in a big way. He finished with 246 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Patriots, of course, and handed them an L.
Big time.
What do we think about this guy? He should be available, I'm assuming, on the waiver wire in many leagues.
Yeah, I think some people drafted him just after the Spencer Ware injury. He seemed like he might be the guy, and I think after this week, it's pretty obvious that he is the guy. Obviously, you don't really know with the rookie, so I think if he's still available, now is a good time to go grab him. obviously, you can't expect that kind of production every game. I think that might even be his high point of the season. He scored like 40 fantasy points. But the Chiefs just rely so heavily on running backs in their offense. Whoever it is, they love to get the running back involved in the run game and in the pass game. Alex Smith isn't going to, chuck the ball down the field that much, despite what he did against the Patriots. So I think Kareem Hunt is a pretty solid option going forward. At the very least, he's going to have a pretty high floor, I guess is the term. He's going to get a lot of touches. It's
interesting because Spencer Ware was that guy last year that a lot of us talked about. He replaced Jamal Charles for many people. So it's just a circle of life. It keeps on giving, doesn't it?
Yep. Kansas City running back. Just grab him.
Okay, and then Leonard Fournette, another one. Of course, I exited out here because these are new iPads and we're still learning here. Leonard Fournette, week high 26 carries, 124 total yards, and a TD. This guy looked good.
Yeah, he did, and against the Texans defense with J.J. Watt, which is no joke, on the road too. I think Fournette made some headlines in the preseason. I think he said, "Oh, the NFL's easy. Like I'm gonna be fine." And
you're putting a target on your back.
I know, and he lived up to the hype a little bit. Obviously, he doesn't do a whole lot in the passing game, and I think teams are going to start loading the box against him now that Allen Robinson's out. I think you're going to see a lot of attention to the run game. But that said, he's a talented guy. I think they're going to continue to give him a lot of carries. I would stick with him if you got him. He seems like a pretty solid play.
Okay, and then last but not least, Tariq Cohen, Chicago Bears running back. This guy is great because he's 5'6", and he is just a little mighty mouse around there. He's running around. He's the quickest guy on the field. 113 yards and a score for him. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think they call him the human joystick.
I love
it. That's the nickname. Great nickname. Yeah, if you're looking for, in terms of waiver wire replacements for David Johnson, I think Tariq Cohen is one of the first guys you go to. He had only 3 fewer touches than Jordan Howard in the Bears offense, and Howard was kind of figured to be the workhorse in that offense. They have a pretty good running game. I know the passing game is a little suspect. They have virtually no wide receivers, but they have a good offensive line for the run game. So I think he's going to see a lot of, even if he splits carries with Jordan Howard, I think he's going to see a lot of touches. Just like we saw in week 1, he can make plays. He's very electric. So I think he's going to be probably the top waiver wire ad for running backs, especially for guys who own David Johnson. Okay, got to get on that quickly. Patriots players, let's talk about this. Of course, an uncharacteristic loss for the Patriots on Thursday night. I was there in the stadium. It started out really well. They unveiled the banner. Everyone was very excited. And then, of course, it quickly turned sour. It was really quiet at the end of the game, and a lot of people left the stadium. What's up with that? I know it was late. It was late for a Thursday night, and I get it, the team was losing, but come on, people. It's Tom Brady. Yeah. He can come back. I mean, they're not used to losing, which is understandable, but, maybe your Patriots players didn't perform the way you thought they would on your fantasy teams. First off, Mike Gillislee, this is a guy who did great. 3 touchdowns. And is he potentially the next LeGarrette Blount in this offense? That's what I was kind of getting. I mean, I know he was on your bench, so this may be a sour subject for you. Yeah, but you're mentioning Hunt and now Gillislee. You're really just kind of driving the
rubbing it in.
I do think that, that's what they signed him for that role. I did notice, especially when you watch him on the field in person, he certainly isn't LeGarrette Blount's size. He's a little bit smaller. Obviously, Blount is a big guy, but just every time they had a short yardage situation, whether it was 4th down or goal line, Gillislee was the guy who got the ball, and he actually got stuffed on 4th down a few times. But I think the Chiefs' defense is one of the better defenses you'll see in the NFL, especially in that front 7. So I think you're right. I think that's what they at least envision for him, and he's going to get a lot of carries at the goal line. Whether he gets 18 touchdowns like Blount did last year remains to be seen. I think the yardage is going to be pretty low, just in terms of the other weapons they have, and they like to pass the ball a lot, matchup depending, obviously. But I think he's a pretty safe bet for touchdowns. So unless you're in a really shallow league, I think you're fine. I think you're fine playing him.
So is it safe to say that you'll be starting him next week?
Yeah, I think so. I learned my lesson.
You learned from your mistake? Okay.
Especially against the Saints.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving on to Chris Hogan. Not the star that we anticipated in week 1. A lot of people were saying, hey, get this guy. He's going to replace Julian Edelman, and he'll move into that role of being Tom Brady's favorite target. Not the case in week 1. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that was kind of wishful thinking, I guess. But I still think that he can play a big role in this offense. The Patriots offense was a little bit out of sorts, especially after Amendola went down. They were kind of scrambling a little bit. Don't sleep on the Chiefs secondary either. Pretty solid. And I guess in the short term, if I have Chris Hogan, I'm rolling him out in week 2. Like I mentioned, they're playing the Saints. The Saints just made Sam Bradford look like Tom Brady, 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. So I think Hogan can definitely hit on like a couple big plays, and definitely against the Saints. I think that's kind of where he's going to make his mark. Like we saw last year, he was one of the NFL's leaders in yards per reception. So I think, him, and we'll see how Brandon Cooks comes along. But if Amendola misses time, it's going to be a lot of Hogan. Hogan might even go underneath and catch more targets to kind of somebody has to catch balls in the passing game. So I'm sticking with him. It's definitely something to monitor though, because he didn't do a whole lot in Buffalo. So if this is a continuing trend, Bill Belichick has been known to just whoever can play. So
yeah, he's big on that. Well, I know a lot of people saying that they have Hogan on the roster and they're going to sit him in week 2 and kind of see what happens there. But you're saying go for it because you're braver than those people.
The Saints is just a great matchup. I can't avoid them there.
Okay. Any other Patriots that stood out to you in that game that kind of made you think moving forward?
Yeah, I think Brandon Cooks, he didn't get a whole lot of volume, but he did hit on a few big plays. I think he had around 80 yards receiving. So I think that's a good sign, especially in a night where everything wasn't really clicking for the offense. So I think his production is only going to increase as, Brady mentioned earlier this week, he needs to kind of develop that trust with his wide receivers with new. He has a lot of new targets, so the fact that Cooks still got in and caught some passes, I think that's a good sign. So, I think he was a pretty high draft pick in a lot of drafts this season, like pretty high hyped up. But I think good things going forward for him. Well,
one of the reasons why he loved Edelman so much is because, of course, they had that chemistry. So maybe we just have to wait and be a little more patient with some of those newer guys. Okay. Waiver wire targets. I know tight end is usually a hard position to fill, but a name I'm hearing a lot this week is Jesse James. This is the Steelers tight end. What do you think about grabbing him?
Yeah, I mean, the tight end in the Steelers offense always has been a good choice historically. Obviously, had Heath Miller there for a while. I don't know if you can get 2 touchdowns out of Jesse James every week, but I think James is a solid option. He's if he has a good rapport with Ben Roethlisberger, teams are going to load up on Antonio Brown. They're going to load up on Le'Veon Bell. I think he's a fine option there. Maybe a low end tight end, starting tight end, but certainly worth picking up.
Okay, and another guy that you might be able to find in a lot of your leagues, another rookie, but this time it's a wide receiver, Detroit Lions wide receiver Kenny Golladay. He had 2 touchdowns. He looked fantastic out there. Yeah.
Again, rookie wide receivers and running backs making a big splash. He had a great diving catch in that fourth quarter comeback for the Lions. The thing about wide receivers, they're a little bit more tricky than running backs. Some of them can kind of be flashes in the pan. They can have a big day and then fall flat the next week. I like Golladay though, and I think the Lions like him too. The fact that they're going to him that much with guys like Marvin Jones and Golden Tate already in the offense, they have a lot of options in the passing game, but they're going to him right away. So I think this is a guy that, at the very least, he should be picked up on the waiver wire. Put him on your bench. Maybe you have some start and sit decisions there, but yeah, roster him up.
He was certainly a winner in week 1. Let's talk about some of the other winners. Now, I hate to do this to Patriots fans because you already don't like us for mentioning the loss, but Alex Smith, now this guy, he looked good against the Patriots defense. He threw for 368 yards and 4 touchdowns. And this is really not the quarterback that we were used to seeing last year, but man, did he start 2017 on a nice foot.
Yeah, at the expense of the Patriots secondary. Again, from a fantasy perspective, at the end of the day, this is still Alex Smith. I wouldn't go out and start him for the rest of the season. The Patriots had some blown coverages in that game. I think 2 70-plus yard touchdown passes. That's 140, 150 yards of passing offense right there. So I wouldn't go too crazy on him. Definitely a winner in week 1, though. Gotta give credit where credit's due.
Okay, so what do you think? A backup quarterback moving forward? If you can get him on your roster, I know I'm kicking Andy Dalton out. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well. If you have Andy Dalton, just replace him with Alex
He was
Smith.
my backup, so it didn't hurt me too much. But man.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, they do have Tyreek Hill and they have Kareem Hunt, and those are 2 pretty explosive players. Obviously, like I said, Smith's not going to take a ton of shots downfield, but he might be doing that more this year with those guys. Okay,
very interesting. Another winner in week 1. I just wanted to say this guy's name. Giorgio Tavecchio.
Yeah.
Now, this is a kicker. Of course, he made 4 field goals, 2 from 52 yards, and those are big points in fantasy football. So,
yeah.
I mean, kickers, tight ends, these are usually positions where you wait until the final minutes and then you just fill it with whoever is available, whoever is high on the board there. But this might be a guy worth picking up.
Yeah, and it's important to note that the Raiders love kickers with interesting last and first names. Sebastian Janikowski, and now they're going with Giorgio Tavecchio.
Yes.
Very, very exotic names there. I think, I agree. I think the Raiders are going to score some points this year, and Tavecchio is a good guy to have. Janikowski was always a solid, kind of consistent source of points. So if this guy can boot 50-yard field goals like Janikowski, he'll fit right in.
Okay, well, we have the winners. Now let's move on to the less positive news, the losers of week 1. Now, we talked about this guy, Le'Veon Bell. Of course, he's not a loser in real life, but in week 1, he didn't perform the way people wanted him to, especially for someone that you drafted pretty high up there. So he only had 13 touches. He was held to 47 yards, not the point production that we're used to seeing out of Bell.
Yeah, and especially against the Browns, I'm sure owners were losing their minds seeing him get 47
They
yards
love that
against the
matchup
Browns.
Before the game.
Yeah, I think the issue here is, he kind of held out for most of the preseason. He didn't really get any reps. A little bit of rust there. I think he'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, we're not worried about him. We have to call him a loser, though, in week 1 just because it's the name of the game, winners, losers. Julio Jones, also kind of a loser in week 1.
Yeah.
I hate calling these guys losers. They're so good at football.
Yeah, Julio Jones, probably the best receiver in the NFL, if not one of the best. Yeah, again, that was kind of a weird game against the Bears. Everyone, if you look at the matchup again, Julio Jones, Devonta Freeman, Matt Ryan against the terrible Bears defense. The Bears showed up to play. That's football.
Okay, also, I don't even know why this guy's on my list. Tom Brady, people are going to hate me. Tom Brady, a loser. Completed fewer than half of his passes, 16 of 36. He didn't look as sharp as he normally does.
Yeah, and I think that's again a credit to the Chiefs secondary. Brady had a lot of time to throw in a lot of those situations, and his receivers just couldn't get open. I think he's going to have to develop the rapport with the receivers. Like I mentioned a couple times already, though, great bounce back opportunity against the Saints, who have an awful defense.
Angry Brady, watch out, world.
Yep.
He's coming in week 2. Okay, Andy Dalton, also another big loser. Like I said, I'm just kicking him off. I gave him a chance in week 1 to sit on the bench and do something good, but he did not for me. So
no
4
sympathy.
Interceptions. No, he's out. He is the loser of the list.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Devonta Freeman, 39 yards. He did the same thing last year, actually. He finished in his first game, he had I think it was 40 yards or something like that, and he finished with over 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. So hopefully, the same thing is going to happen this year.
Although it is worth something worth monitoring is Tevin Coleman is there too, and Tevin Coleman can play. So just keep an eye out. Freeman's still the lead guy, but keep him on your radar.
I do have Freeman on my team, so I wanted you to say something good right there. Okay, let's take a look ahead at the week. So right now it is Tuesday.
Yes.
And we have football again coming up on Thursday. How fun is this?
Oh yeah, football year round.
We already have to set our rosters and look ahead. So as far as people that you should start and sit for Thursday night, who are you looking at?
Oh, I'll give you one for each team. For the Bengals and the Texans. Maybe not the best matchup on paper, but hey, it's football, and there are fantasy
We're
guys
just happy
there.
it's back. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. A guy I'm a little bit more high on is Joe Mixon. Didn't really do anything in his rookie debut, unlike the other rookies out there, but I'm going to give him another go against the Texans. We just saw Leonard Fournette run for 100 yards against the Texans defense on the road. And like you said, Andy Dalton not doing too well in the pass game. So maybe they increase the workload for Mixon. We'll see how he's kind of a little bit more of a reach, but we'll see how he does. This guy is not a reach. DeAndre Hopkins for the Texans. I know he's he's been a little inconsistent with depending on who the quarterback is, but Deshaun Watson came in, threw a touchdown to him. So I like the little Clemson connection there, and the Bengals can be thrown on. So what
about people that we should keep on the bench?
Well, this one is not going to be surprising for you. Andy Dalton, do not start him. The Texans defense, they can be had in the run game, but their passing, their secondary is pretty good. I think they'll be able to kind of limit Dalton, and that's going to be one that you want to avoid.
Done.
And then pretty easy, right? And actually, I think the other quarterback in this game you shouldn't be starting either. I don't think Deshaun Watson or Tom Savage, whoever they roll out there, should be worthy of a start. Even if Watson, I know there's a little bit of a hype around him because he did come in and throw a touchdown pass, but the whole body of work against the Jags, it wasn't great from a fantasy perspective. So stick with the running backs and wide receivers, steer clear of the quarterbacks.
Okay, done.
Yep.
All right, moving ahead to the defenses. I know I personally pick up a defense based on the week. It's volatile and changes a lot. Sometimes it works out for me, sometimes it doesn't. But what defense should I pick up this week?
First of all, another stat that I really like. I really like the stats.
You're a stat
guy. 3 defenses this week in the top 6 fantasy scores for the entire week.
Wow, okay,
So defenses can get you major points.
Why do we wait so long to pick them up? I don't know. These guys can really get you points.
Jaguars defense, Rams defense, and I think it was the Bills defense all crushed it. So, to that point, defenses can be really important, mostly because of who they're playing. So I think we mentioned at some point you should start whoever the Browns or the Jets are playing. So with that,
that's just such an old formula, but it always works.
Well, I mean, you saw it worked out for the Steelers. They blocked a punt against the Browns in the season opener. But Baltimore Ravens playing the Browns in week 2. I really like that. And actually, I was looking on and Baltimore defense is actually available in a lot of leagues. I know they used to be kind of a big name on the defensive front. I'm definitely starting them. They shut down Andy Dalton and the Bengals in week 1, lots of turnovers. And then against DeShone Kizer in his second NFL game. I like that matchup. Then the other one, Oakland Raiders. Not the best defense on paper, but they're playing the Jets.
Oh yeah.
And it really is. It's a pretty solid formula. If Oakland has some playmakers, Khalil Mack. They have some guys who can shake things up. The Jets just have no offense, so it's as simple as that.
Patriots fans never mind picking on the Jets fans anyways. So that's a good formula moving forward.
Yep.
Good stuff in week 2. I know a lot of you fans, Patriots fans in New England, would be a little happier if Thursday night had gone your way, but hey, it's a long season and we're here for you, and we're hopefully giving you some good advice moving forward with your fantasy football leagues. So make sure you keep it on NESN.com. For any news regarding your teams, any questions you have, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at It's Rachel Holt or at Darren_Hartwell. And thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.